Hi there, I'm Monette Satterfield. This is my studio. I'm so glad you're here with me today. Today I'm going to be moving along some projects that I started earlier where I mounted canvas onto board and gessoed it. Before we start, just want to remind you this is filmed pretty much live in my studio and it's brought to you unedited, so any mistakes or flubs that I make are going to be right there for you to see. And what we've done, a couple videos ago, I showed you how I mount canvas on board and then gesso it so that it is ready to go. And here's one of those pieces that I worked on. And you can see, I talked about how if the canvas shrinks and leaves you a little margin, don't worry about it. We're going to cover that back up. And you'll probably notice that there's some marks on this. Now, this is what I wanted to talk to you about. This is something I like to do in the studio. It's part of my art practice. You may have heard in some of my other things that I don't keep a sketchbook. They just don't work for me. I have never been able to do it. I don't really enjoy it. I don't keep an art journal either. But what I do is I have a practice here in the studio where I keep a lot of ephemera papers where I work things out, or I journal on those and cover them up. And I will also, in essence, journal or sketchbook or just sketch, try out ideas on the work itself, on the canvas, on the piece. It's not always at the beginning. Sometimes I'll be partway through and decide I want to try something out and I'll do it right then and there. Excuse me. And this is an instance where what I'm doing is I'm writing on the canvas. In this case, I'm actually writing about my intentions for these pieces, for the emotional feel I want them to have. Sometimes I use this as an actual journal where I'll just write out things I need to get out on the page. And then the beauty of it is they get covered up. And I feel like that energy does carry into the final piece, even though you can't see it at all. So we're going to cover that up. And before I do that, I'll show you one I just finished. This canvas is still wet, but this is kind of the idea that we're going for. You can see that I've got a lot of texture. I've cut into the gesso. I've got my marks are showing through. And that's because these marks have been done with a water-soluble pencil or crayon. So I'm going to start putting some gesso, which is, again, the thick gesso, the thick paste kind, not the thin liquid. And, I made the mistake of starting this without an apron. So I'm going to have to be careful not to get this on my clothes because I almost always do. But mistake number one, let's see if I don't make any more. So first I'm just going to take a palette knife. You could use anything. You could use a key card, a scraper. You could use a brush if you actually like to use brushes, which I do not. I really don't like brushes. And the best part about putting on gesso over these marks like this is how it starts to smear. And the smearing, that's the best part, right? I mean, I think it is. Look at that. And you can smush it around and make it even more smeary if you want to. And if the smearing bothers you, which I know it does some people, and that's okay. Whoops. You can totally put it on there with a non-water-soluble medium, like paint marker. Like a paint marker wouldn't budge. Okay, yeah, look at that. Okay. Now, so what I can do, it's starting to smear pretty well, is in a couple places I'm going to scrape it off so I can see. Yeah, and my gesso is starting to turn a little bit gray from the marker. That's even better. There we go. That's good. Now, what I'll do is I'm going to put some texture in that because that's another reason for putting this second coat of gesso on is to get a build-up. Because I do really like to build the surfaces of my paintings, especially on something sturdy like canvas, because you can put a lot of layers on there and it can get a lot of texture. So as I'm building, I'm going to go ahead and cut some, oops, right back. Don't want to step in that. Okay, so I've cut some marks in there with my palette knife, and I'm going to use this comb tool just to cut a few more. Like that. And like that. Okay. I will call that done. And you can see there's two segments because I'm going to try and get two pieces out of this from here and here. So I've got this up here and this one here. And there's lots of texture and smeary marks and a lot of good contrast. And so that is time to dry. And later when that's dry and this texture is going to be an excellent place to add color, especially if I use glazes, something that's going to sink into that texture. It's really going to add a lot of interest to these paintings. So we'll be doing that later, but I appreciate your stopping by today to see how these are going. Thank you for being here. Remember, I'm not on any social medias, so the way to find out more about what's going on in the studio and get in on some of the extras is to sign up for my newsletter. I appreciate you being here. I'll talk to you soon.